Part 1. The Opening. The movie begins with Sergeant John Kinley's team inspecting vehicles on a road in rural Afghanistan. John's team is tasked with finding Taliban munitions and explosive sites. A suspicious truck driver is seen arguing with Jack and his Afghan interpreter when he is asked to open his trunk. Moments later, the truck explodes, killing Jack and the interpreter. At the Bagram Air Base, John is selecting a new interpreter for his team. Ahmed is introduced as resourceful but tricky. John briefly interviews him before recruiting him for the job. John tells Ahmed about the nature of his job and tells him not to be a pain in the ass. In their first search tour, Ahmed tells John that they do not have the right intel. Ahmed says that he knows what goes behind those doors. Ahmed happens to be right. The team doesn't find anything at the location. A frustrated John tells Colonel Vokes that his team is not finding anything in their search tours. The colonel encourages him to use his own method to get the job done and produce results. Next thing, John and his team grab an Afghan from the street who they think has intel on the Taliban. After bribing him, the guy provides John's team with a lead and gives up 2 Taliban sites. Later that night, John learns from one of his soldiers that Ahmed used to be in the heroin business and worked with the Taliban until they killed his son. John and his team plan to find the first location. One of the Afghan soldiers with the team says to take the rather longer route to the location. Ahmed's suspicion rises. He asks John to stop the vehicles. He deduces that it must be a trap. John is skeptical but still sends scouts up the hills to inquire. It soon becomes known that it was actually an ambush. John commands them to turn back to the base. Part 2. The second location. John and his team leave for the second location on 2 Humvees, which is 120 kilometers from their base, taking them roughly 3 hours in difficult terrain. Reaching the location, they find an old mine with dozens of locals there. The team takes position and searches for improvised explosive devices. One of the locals gets on his phone and contacts the Taliban commander, informing him that the Americans are there. Ahmed tells John that something is fishy here. John divides the team into 2 groups. One stays on the ground and searches that area. Another group, led by John himself, went up the mine. The team on the ground finds a big cache of guns. John orders to secure the Afghans from the mine. John and his team proceed toward a tent. He finds 4 Taliban in the improvised explosive device factory. He asks for immediate air support and moves in with Eddie to kill the Taliban. John fixes a bomb at the factory and informs his team to prepare to leave. Right then, the Taliban attack and a brutal fight erupts. Eddie is the first to get killed. More and more Taliban arrive at the location from different directions and launch heavy attacks. John's team is overwhelmed. They start taking positions and firing at the Taliban, who are coming from the road in cars and on foot from the hilltops. Tom gets on the gunner, and Kawa, the sniper, takes down the Taliban one at a time. Kawa gets killed by a mortar. Then Tom dies from a rocket that destroys his Humvee. John and Ahmed get to the ground. John tells his remaining 2 team members to get into an SUV and get onto higher ground. They take the road to escape the onslaught. The Taliban shot down one of the SUVs. John and Ahmed survive and escape the scene. Soon, they get a flat tire and get on foot, running through the rough terrain to find cover. John and Ahmed spend the night in the hills and wake up to a Taliban onslaught. Running and rolling down hills, Ahmed loses his rifle. John gives him his handgun. Overwhelmed, John and Ahmed have to navigate through the heavily controlled area by the Taliban militia. A guerrilla-style fight begins between them, in which John and Ahmed kill 2 Taliban by stabbing them. Pushing through the narrow valley, John and Ahmed kill another Taliban silently, but then get exposed. They kill 2 more Taliban, but this time by firing at them. This gives away their location, and a fierce gunfight begins. John and Ahmed kill a number of Taliban fighters, but given the sheer numerical advantage of the Taliban, they have to hide to survive. They reach an abandoned house and decide to spend the night there. Waking up in the morning, John and Ahmed listen to their radio and become aware of the approaching Taliban fighters. John gets shot in his right hand and left leg. He is captured by the Taliban, but is not killed. One of the Taliban fighters clubs him with his gun's butt. John gets semi-unconscious. The Taliban drag him to their vehicle to transport him to their commander. Ahmed jumps on the scene and kills the Taliban. Ahmed tells John that they are going home. He bandages his wounds, changes into Afghan clothes, and says that they have to take the mountains, as the Taliban know they are here. Ahmed makes a cart, puts John on it, and drags him through the rough terrain. Reaching a village, Ahmed buys a truck and drives through the rigged mountains of Afghanistan. They reach the tent of a nomadic tribe. The nomads get them food, and in exchange for their vehicle, Ahmed gets a wheel cart and opium from them. The nomads tell Ahmed that the Taliban are searching every village and have burned those that didn't provide them with any intel on Ahmed and John. An exhausted Ahmed pushes the wheel cart through valleys, burned villages, and rough mountains. At last, Ahmed sees the Bagram airbase. His joy is remarkable, a sigh of relief. He drags the cart and reaches a roadside petty shop. Getting refreshed, a group of Taliban arrives at the scene. As the Taliban notice Ahmed's card and see John, a quick Ahmed takes out his handgun and shoots two of them down. The last of the Taliban attacks Ahmed with a knife. Ahmed manages to subdue and choke him to death. Moments later, a convoy of American troops arrives at the scene. They arrest Ahmed, who tells them that he is one of them and that John is on the cart. Part 3. Insomnia and Dilemma. John is transported to the U.S., where he is being treated in a hospital. John gains consciousness after 4 weeks. 3 weeks after gaining consciousness, at his home in Santa Clarita, his friend Declan informs him that he will get the Distinguished Service Cross for his time in Afghanistan. John barely remembers what happened and how he got out of his last mission. He nevertheless believes that Ahmed deserves the medal. Declan says that Ahmed might want a visa to the U.S. rather than the medal. Ahmed became a sort of folk hero after saving John. The Taliban, unhappy about it, put him on their top 10 wanted list with a price on his head. Ahmed, therefore, has gone underground with his family. John takes up the task of following up on Ahmed's special immigrant visa with the U.S. government. He quickly gets frustrated after being put on hold during numerous phone calls. John becomes an insomniac and gets visions of Ahmed saving his life. John decides to get Ahmed out of Afghanistan himself. Declan connects John with a private security contractor named Parker. Declan tells John that he has to get to Afghanistan with a different identity, or else the Taliban will pursue him with all they have. John, losing hope after following Ahmed's visa through normal channels, gets to Colonel Vokes and reminds him of his debt to John. He asks the colonel to pay his debt by securing visas for Ahmed and his family. John gets to Parker's base in northern Afghanistan. However, Parker tells John that they have to wait another 3 days as he has to finish another urgent task. John, however, decides not to wait. Parker then gives him an SUV and tells him that if he can locate Ahmed, he will send men to evacuate them. John drives through Afghanistan and finally finds Ahmed's brother, Ali. Ali provides him with Ahmed's location. Ali provides John with a driver and a truck. Before reaching Ahmed's location, 2 Taliban rangers stop them for a vehicle search. John kills them both, but another Talib radios this incident to his commander. John finally reaches Ahmed's location and finds him fixing a car. They chat briefly, and John convinces Ahmed to take his family and leave with him. John gets identified by the Taliban, and they send forces to kill both John and Ahmed. John gets the extraction location from Parker and hits the road with Ahmed's family. A convoy of Taliban fighters follows them closely. John shots and brings down one of the vehicles. John asks his driver to block a tunnel leading to the extraction point with his truck. They all get out of the truck. John blows up the truck, and they all rapidly move toward the extraction point. More Taliban arrive at the location from the hilltops and a fierce fight begins. John, Ahmed, and Puya take position and kill numerous Taliban. However, they are overwhelmed and outnumbered. They take cover by a small building and try to slow down the Taliban who are approaching in scores. The Taliban marches towards them without a care for their heavy losses. For them, catching John and Ahmed is more important than dozens of their soldiers. John and Ahmed are running low in ammunition. The Taliban keep on pushing towards them. John is frustrated, and for a moment he seems hopeless. John tries to reach Parker, but to not avail. John and Ahmed have their handguns now with the last few bullets. John and Ahmed lay low and lost in thoughts, hopeless and tired. Puya still has his rifle and is shooting at the Taliban. He gets hit in his right shoulder. The Taliban keep pushing towards them. The battle seems lost. They cannot prevent the inevitable. However, Parker and his team arrive and shoot at the Taliban with their AC-130 aircraft and Apache helicopter. They rapidly destroy the Taliban line and inflict heavy losses on them. Soon, all of the Taliban are killed. Parker arrives at the scene on a Taliban SUV and escorts John, Ahmed, and his family to the extraction point. They board a helicopter, and Parker hands them Ahmed and his family's visas to the U.S. They are then transported to Parker's base in north of Afghanistan, where a transport aircraft is waiting to take them home. Boarding the transport aircraft, Ahmed nods his head out of respect for what John did for him and his family. John nods back and goes to sleep. Finally. Part 5. The Verdict. The Covenant is the story of 2 men from vastly different cultures bound by survival that transforms into a bond of brotherhood, as the title suggests. It is a well-acted drama with action-thriller experience fused with quieter and deeper characters. John is a level-headed army officer who is joined by Ahmed, A man of few words but a razor-sharp ability to read situations. Their bond is forged cinematically, with the camera lenses bringing the two men together during their audacious journey of survival. This was our recap and verdict. Tell us what you liked or disliked about this movie. Let us know in the comment section what movie we should recap next. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified when we upload new videos and enjoy watching.